Welcome back to Good Dates Gone Bad. I'm your host, Lee. And I have a story to share with you guys. You're not going to believe it, but it's absolutely 100% true. I met the guy. I saw the scar. So let's get into it. There was this guy that decided he wanted to go out for cocktails at El Azteca, and he sat up at the bar, and he was enjoying himself, talking to people, and he met a beautiful woman who, after exchanging information, she said that she wasn't available. So he was a little disappointed, but then she said, oh, well, I have a friend that is. And if you give me your phone number, I'll make the love connection. So he did. And about 2 days later, he heard from her via text, and they went back and forth with conversation like normal, and agreed on a place to meet. And when they did meet, they were enjoying themselves up at the bar and just hanging out, having a few drinks. And she says about an hour after they've been there together that she had someone that she wanted him to meet. So this guy, by the way, had a series of bad decisions. He, in this story alone, his whole life, I'm sure, had lots of bad decisions, but this one in particular was really bad. So he agreed and went outside to meet her friend. He didn't know anything about this person. And the man that he was to meet was asking him questions, and he ended up asking him which car was his. And they started walking towards the car and talking about it and looking at it. Next thing you know, the guy pulls out a gun and pistol whips him enough to make him almost unconscious, and shoves him in the back of his own truck. And then that man proceeds to drive off with another woman that he had never seen before in the front seat. And the lady evidently was really quiet. The guy managed, the man that got hit, managed to take some shots of the guy while he was driving the car as evidence. And he was a little out of it, and I don't know why he couldn't get out of the truck. That part wasn't clear to me. But he was taken to a hotel, and they held him hostage for 2 days and asking him questions, all these things about his personal life, trying to get information and something that they could hold him for ransom, if you will. And they kept getting him to send PayPal and Zelle money to him, so that they were getting little increments of, $500 here, $700 there. And he ended up giving them about $7,000. And he did divulge that he had a daughter. They threatened to harm her if he didn't give more money, all these terrible things. And meanwhile, the guy's gash on his head was not being tended to. They finally let him go, and they took him home. But the only reason they let him go is if he gave them his home address, which is another mistake. You never do that. You try to think of somebody else's address, or, I don't have a home, however you're going to do it. But he gave them his home address, and now they can find him, and he never feels safe. Another thing to tell you, I need to tell you some background on the man. He was released from jail on standard probation. So oftentimes with standard probation, any of you have ever served jail time and been released with that, they oftentimes will say you can't drink alcohol, because that does lead to bad decisions, depending on the degree of what you were serving, the time you're serving in jail. But most often than not, they recommend that you don't drink any alcohol, definitely no drugs, and you've lost your rights to weapons and firearms. So when they took him home, he had no way to defend himself. And I asked him, well, why don't you have a baseball bat or something like that? And he didn't really have an answer. Well, these people showed up a few days later again. And, by the way, when they dropped him off, it was a little bit later, so he had to wait till the next day to report to the police. And he had evidence on his phone, both from payments that he submitted to them and the picture of the man. And I guess they didn't have facial recognition yet, or they didn't have that man in the system to be able to track him yet. And they refused to do fingerprinting on his truck, which is absurd to me. I think personally that they could have fingerprinted him a number of ways, even the accomplice, the lady that was in the front. So that part seems a little unbelievable to me too. But as I mentioned, I saw the man's gash. It was this big, crazy gash on his forehead. And it looked like it slightly started to heal. But that part I believed. So then when the bad guy showed up again, he hit him again and kept beating him up and demanding more money. And this time he got like $6,000 out of him. So he's paid them a total of $13,000 by now. And it's just, to me, crazy. At least he got to keep his truck, but it turned out that the police never believed him. They never felt like his evidence was substantial enough to seek out this group. And it was a con artist, and he had a group. And obviously the way that they worked, is they have attractive women that are waiting for men that are unknowingly going to be the person that they take next. And they're waiting for them at a bar or wherever they are, bus stop, wherever. And this group arranges to meet up, and then they beat him up and they take all their money. Well, the man had found out that not only were they doing that here in the Atlanta area, but they were also doing it in Orlando and maybe other cities too. So he had found that out at least, but because the police did not believe him, they threw him in jail. And probably because he had standard probation on good faith is really what that means. The minute that you do anything at all that goes against your standard probation, you go right back in jail and you serve your time. So he had to go to jail. They didn't keep him that long. They kept him for 4 days, but still, he had been held hostage for 2 days, beaten up several times, paid $13,000, all for a date. So that's a terrible date, right? I mean, I think that would be a reason never to go back to a bar and decide to go on a date with a woman ever again. But knowing this guy, that probably did not stop him very much. But if you do think this is an unbelievable story, please say so in the comments. And thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And stay tuned for more Good Dates Gone Bad. Bye.